Hi there. My name is Sean Boone, and I'm a program manager on the Microsoft Business Intelligence team, working on Project Crescent. Project Crescent is a web-based, immersive, ad hoc experience for visualizing and interacting with data, and it's part of SQL Server Denali. In this short demonstration, we're going to take a look at a couple of features in Project Crescent using data from the 2009 U.S. government car allowance rebate system program that was often referred to as the Cash for Clunkers program. Now, one of the goals of the CARS program was to replace older vehicles that are less fuel efficient with newer vehicles that have less emissions and are presumably more fuel efficient. So we've downloaded all the transactions from the program's website. I'll show that to you really quick here. This is the program's website. And we've also built a Power Pivot workbook that is the source for the Crescent reports that we're about to build. You'll see here that there's 678,000 records, roughly, associated with the program. Each one of those transactions basically represents a case where somebody traded in an older vehicle and received a voucher and then bought a new vehicle with that money. So with that, we'll switch over to Project Crescent. All right, so here we are inside Project Crescent. Notice we're running in the browser here. We've got a ribbon up here at the top, very similar to the Office applications that people are familiar with. And over here on the right, I have the data from that Power Pivot workbook that I just showed you a second ago. And what I want to do now is I want to get an understanding of the types of vehicles that people traded in and what they purchased in return as a result of the voucher that they received. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the trade-in vehicles and the number of invoices associated with these particular makes. Notice that when I clicked on the fields, what it did is it actually created a table, and everything in Project Crescent starts off as a table. But you can go right up here to the ribbon and change the visualization associated with the data. So I'm going to turn this into a column chart. And you'll notice, I'll go ahead and resize that really quick, that there were a lot of Fords and Dodge and Chevrolets returned as part of the program. But there's also a chunk here of blank vehicles that had no make associated with them. And I want to get rid of those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the Home tab here and open up the Filters area. And I'm going to go ahead and drag that field into the Filter panel and choose the option to remove the blank. Right, so just with a couple of checks there, I was able to get rid of those blank vehicles. And now I want to see what people actually purchased with their voucher. So I'm going to go ahead and look at their new vehicle and how many invoices were associated with that. I'm going to turn that into a column chart. And again, you'll notice that there are some blanks here, so I'll go ahead and get rid of those. Okay. And then I'll go ahead and collapse the filter panel again. And so what you can see here is that a lot of people bought Toyotas. Apparently were the most preferred vehicle make in the program once people traded in their vehicles. Now, everything on the Crescent canvas is interactive, and that interactivity comes from a lot of the relationships that are defined in the model. And so what I'm going to do here is, if I'm interested in seeing if people traded in, for example, Fords, I can see what percentage they opted for the other vehicle make. So you can see that a large percentage of people who actually bought Fords out of this program are people who traded in Fords. You'll notice also that Toyota had a pretty significant uh, contribution to the vehicles that people preferred when they traded in Fords. You'll notice that people who traded in Toyotas, they, for the most part, bought Toyotas or Hondas. It looks like there's also some Fords that were purchased. People who traded in Chevrolets, they preferred Chevrolets. It looks like as a majority. But you can see they also preferred vehicles like Toyota. Now, this feature that we're showing you here is what we call highlighting, and in this case, it is an example of partial highlighting, whereby you select an item in one chart, and we then partially show you a partial value that represents that contribution based on what you selected in the first chart. Now, this is a rather simple example, but I'll show you something a little bit more complicated here. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the vehicle cylinders, and was there sort of a preference for vehicles with, let's say, 6 or 8 or 4 cylinders in terms of what they traded in and what they received in return. So I'm going to go ahead and select the trade-in chart, and in the transactions table, I have a number that represents the trade-in cylinders. So I'll go ahead and click on that. And you can see by far and away there were a lot of 6-cylinder vehicles that were traded in. Notice again that everything is interactive here, so you can see that contribution in the lower chart as well. And again, I want to get rid of these blank values that are here, or the ones that are marked as pound values. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that onto the canvas here, select all, and then get rid of the ones that, there's about 3,700 records here that don't have anything associated with them. So that's fine. And I want to do the same thing for the new vehicle makes. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the new vehicle number of cylinders. See that right there? And while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and drag that out here and get rid of the ones that don't have an entry. And so what's interesting here right away is that you can see that, for example, people who traded in 4-cylinder vehicles, there weren't a lot of those actually that were traded in. But if you move up to 6 cylinders, you'll see that what they happened to purchase was a lot of 4-cylinder vehicles. Now, you could probably make the assumption here correctly that the 4-cylinder vehicles have better fuel efficiency, and so people were trading in vehicles that had 6 or maybe even 8 cylinders, and were opting for vehicles with a lower number of cylinders. So again, if I pick the 8 cylinders, you can see that there's a little bit of a mix here. A lot of people preferred 4-cylinder vehicles, but there was some people who stuck with 8-cylinder vehicles, as well as people who opted for 6-cylinder vehicles when they traded in their 8-cylinder vehicle. So again, this is another example of partial highlighting. As I pick an item from the series legend here, we're actually highlighting it in the chart itself, the segment that represents it. And in the chart below, we are again partially highlighting the data based on the selection in that first chart. So this is just one example of highlighting and how it can work in your reports. We've also taken a look at filter values, and in our further demonstrations, what we'll do is we'll take a look at some of the additional highlighting features that are in the product as well. With that, I'd like to thank you for watching, and we look forward to showing you more examples of Project Crescent real soon.